Hello, hello. This is Saint Hung with Navigating Business, a business podcast for the underserved entrepreneurs nationwide in the USA. This program is brought by the Community Navigator Pilot Program, a collaboration between the US PAC, United States Pan-Asian American Chamber of Commerce, and the US Small Business Administration. Here, we aim to inspire, educate, and encourage entrepreneurship. We want to highlight the wins, the losses, the highs and lows, the trials and tribulations for small business owners nationwide. Today, it is my pleasure to feature Mr. Khoa. I see you're the CEO and founder of Live Picture Studios, K-Vibe Studios, and Sutudu, all based in Jersey City, New Jersey.
Yes. Thanks, Saint.
That is a lot of
Great.
businesses. Tell us and the viewers about these businesses. You're quite the serial entrepreneur, right?
Yeah, serial entrepreneur. I started my entrepreneurship when I was 19, and I'm 42 at the moment, and really simple.
42.
I'm 42.
1980 was a good year, right?
Yeah.
They made both of us, so wow.
But I come from the slums of Jersey City at the time, and I wanted to figure out some sort of way to create some financial freedom, and control in my life without worrying about a big boss hovering over me.
Okay.
And but I'm in the entertainment industry, and I wanted to do what I love to do, and I didn't get into financials or anything like that. So getting into the music industry, failed my businesses over there. Great.
Okay.
Got into the film industry and created successes over that, and with that, and that's how we kind of got into. So the business that we have is all about. They were really short-term strategies to lead into the long-term strategies, right?
Okay.
So Live Picture Studios is the wedding company. We went doing from 12 weddings a year to 500 a year at the moment.
Wow.
Okay. And now we are in the place
and even right now.
Still running. It's 10 years strong.
Wow.
And
okay.
we just signed a contract to start franchising the company.
Okay.
So we're going to be in 38 states,
That's
hopefully.
Exciting.
Yeah. Going through the FDD legal process and everything else. And then the K-Vibe studio side of things, that's always been present, and that started as the music company that transformed to the film company. And K-Vibe Studios has been the company that does all the commercial, the corporate, and the film and TV work. So did my first movie with Walt Before Mickey, Vanilla Ice, Jose Feliciano, and now the latest movie that's coming up will be Bezos. And then the last one, Sutudu. That's my baby. That's what we call it, picture freedom, because it's about picture your life with freedom. Whether that's financial, whether that's finding your passion, whether it's literally in films and trying to find freedom in making your movies and stuff. The idea of Sutudu was strictly to be Web3. It's a Web3 company.
Okay.
NFTs.
Internet of Things, crypto,
NFTs,
smart contracts.
Exactly, smart contract, all that type of stuff. And
right.
that's Sutudu at the moment.
Any secret businesses that are brewing up that you haven't mentioned yet?
You know what? I mean, we're in the 8,000 square foot studio. We were planning to use the studio as the leverage to get people into events, the give backs and everything else. And obviously I do a lot of volunteer work. And so one of it is the US Pan-Asian American Chamber of Commerce.
But
US
the
PAC.
Northeast Division as the president,
That's
right?
exactly right.
How did you get into that?
Just like any entrepreneur that's looking to get their feet wet into business in 2014, I was just looking for like-minded people. And I had once for fastest growing business in Hudson County, New Jersey, because we grew our wedding business from $0 to $500,000 within a year, and that allowed us to US PAC to find us, and I saw all these Asian people. I was like, whoa, there's a lot of Asian businesses out here. And this, to me, it was really, really new. And I said, how do I be a part of it? And I became a member. And then I said, you know what? I want to be more involved. And so I got involved. And then later on, I got asked to be on the board member. And then the president of the chapter had left, and then Susan Allen, the president of the national side, asked me personally, Khoa, do you want to be the president for the chapter? And I said, Northeast chapter. And I said no in the beginning. And he goes,
really?
I did say no.
She accepts no. I mean, you're the president now, so obviously Mrs. Allen didn't take no for an answer,
Well,
right?
I had a lot of things going on. I had at the time I was running 2 businesses, and we were still trying to get our feet, in there, because we're still a small business that pivoted into multiple businesses. But she told me this. She goes, Khoa, I'm gonna leave you with this before you make a decision. Money could buy you a lot of different things, but it cannot buy you respect.
Oh, wow. That's wisdom right
That
there.
was wisdom right there.
Yeah,
It says
yeah.
you could do anything you want, Khoa, with money, but you know what? You would never gain the respect that you could gain, with money. So
Okay.
US PAC is going to if you do it right, US PAC you will earn the respect from your peers.
Oh, I can see that. I've been to some of these nonprofit engagements, these activities that US PAC has brought about.
Yeah.
I've got team members going to the innovation symposium that's coming up.
Yeah,
in
I'm
a
there
couple
too. I'm
weeks.
there
Oh,
too.
you're there too?
Yeah, we're there. We have
Okay.
we're talking some. We actually have a little table over there, trying to get people into Web3 and stuff,
Okay.
and just
Interesting.
slowly integrating them into it. I know I don't want to scare anybody out, anything
Of
like
course,
that, but
it's an innovation.
It's an innovation symposium.
Celebrating innovation and technology, right?
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly that.
Let's get back to you, Khoa. What about your background? You mentioned that you grew up in the slums of Jersey City.
Yeah.
I spent a decade here myself, Jersey City, so I know the community how it is now. How was it 20, 30 years
Oh my
ago?
God! First, I'm a refugee immigrant from Vietnam.
Okay.
Right. Born in Thailand, but parents came here with nothing because of communism, and we started from scratch. And for me, my world was in Jersey City. It's not like we had the opportunity to travel outside the states. So I thought New Jersey was that city. That was it.
That was it. That was your world.
That was my world. I saw New Jersey City, and then I see TV. And the TV would show me these things but I barely watched TV when I was a kid too.
Okay.
So I was like in this little bubble, man.
I hear that, and I had similar experiences going through streets of Queens, Main Street, Flushing, Maple Avenue, Casino Boulevard, just walking around back then. There were not very many Asian people.
No.
Nowadays, Flushing, Queens is the largest Asian community in New York, but back then, early to mid 80s, it was really rough. A kid walking to and from school like half a mile,
Yep.
6, 7 years old, and taking my rental violin. I got my butt kicked just for having a violin. Yeah, bigger kids would literally
Wow.
beat me up, steal my rental violin.
Wow.
I'd have to go home explaining to my parents what
the hell?
what the hell happened to violin. Why did you get in a fight?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Do you know what this is going to cost us?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you don't understand
Yeah.
what it's like. There's nobody like me. There's no chaperone. I'm just trying to
That's it.
make it back home alive. That's it. It's a war zone. Why did we come here? Right?
Yeah, and then I had to put my money in my shoe all the time because every other day you could get mugged. I mean, not mugged; they just run your pockets.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
then
You get shaken down.
my brother used to go to the school, and he used to bring a machete to school. And
Really?
then I ended up. When I went to school, I'm 7 years younger. I used to bring darts, and I would just like as my way to protect myself, not bring a knife, but bring darts because they were small,
Yep.
just in case anything happens. But
That is crazy.
that was insane.
You're just bringing back many real flashbacks of the 80s, which is a long time ago.
Yep.
And it's really strange. I've recently gotten similar flashbacks in this post-pandemic, or especially when the pandemic was really new.
That's right.
And the violence against the AAPI community in
right.
some cities went up by like 30,000%, like 300x the incidents. And even New York City right now, the incidents against Asian Americans is at an all-time high, and it's pretty insane. But
Do you think that's worse than it was back then, though? Bad, just as bad. I don't think it's as bad as back then.
I think once the rhetoric about China virus and Kung flu became very, very mainstream, for a short window of time, call it 6 months to a year, it was really bad, and it went unchecked. And then the community had to push back. We needed to raise awareness. They're looking to build more homeless shelters in Chinatown. And right now there's certain actions and
yeah.
community outcry and outrage and opposition to building additional homeless shelters adjacent to Chinatown. So all this stuff is going on. I think it's an ongoing battle. That's not not the topic today, but it's out there. That said, Khoa, you yourself as a child and adolescent growing up in New Jersey, how did you overcome it?
You know what? I overcame it with getting into passionate things that I wanted to do, and for me, I was lucky to find baseball as my lucky passion, right? And music. Okay. Being a pianist and then trying to get into production. I think what made me realize even more was that at 19 years old that I could start a business and that I could have an opportunity to create change.
Okay.
And when I knew that I could do that, then I saw that there was no ceiling for me. It was a matter of being educated in the business world, and then who the hell is going to help me get me to the next stage besides myself. There was no Google at that time for me.
No, not
real Google.
Yep.
There's no YouTube tutorials or anything like that. So you're kind of out there kind of on your own figuring it out. And then it's like the blind leading the blind. I'm in the slums in Jersey City, and I'm asking help from somebody else that never built a business.
You've got to figure it out
yourself.
Figure it out
yourself. Yeah, and so, so my thing was that, look, I always said this, like, if I was to ever get to that place of making it somewhat there, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I do this. I'm going to give it right back.
Okay.
I'm going to give it right back. And how do I do that? I'm going to pull people up. I don't want people going through the same experience that I went through of trying to figure out on your own, and, so now I'm going to take this experience and bring that in. I look at this world right now, and there's so much opportunities.
There is.
There's a lot of opportunities.
When we were just coming up, there was no Google. I mean, I barely graduated high school, and it was still America Online and 14.4K modems. There was no YouTube. There were no tutorials. There was no 1, 2, 3 paint by numbers thing on starting a business.
Yep.
Not in the mid to late 90s. No. Not at all.
So now what's different, even though the opportunities are there, there's a lot of misinformation out there too.
Oh, you're absolutely right. There's information overload for sure.
And there's and then I don't want my kids to grow up there saying that, I could just start a business, I could be successful in 6 months. No. Slow down there.
Yeah,
you got a lot of people learning to do. You got to learn how to go through business ethics, and you got to go through the grind, and you got to start failing. So I always say, like, people that have whatever success I have today, I said, don't judge me on that. Judge me from when I started. Judge me from how I picked myself back up and went through the people kicking
kicking you when you're down.
Kicking you when you're down.
Yeah.
Right, exactly that. And I and that's something. And I still feel like that way even at the stage I'm at the moment. And which is the reason why we are building Satudu.
Okay. Yeah. No. I totally hear that about information overload on the other side. When we were growing up and just finding our way, there was no roadmap. And to be fair, the challenges today to the millennials and the Zoomers is that there is too much information and there's too much illusion. I would say that social media just is a construct to let you only see the good sides. Everybody only wants to show their good sides. You've got that whole Dan Bilzerian type of, billionaire bro culture, trust fund culture. And it's like, you've got the Kardashians, and that's the result. That's it, right? And you just only see people that are successful. You don't see, look, the original Kardashian father, the father to the Kardashians, was a lawyer. He was O.J. Simpson's lawyer. He worked a legal career his whole life and built up a lot of wealth. And I think there was a divorce, and then, they kept a bunch of the money, right? But that was a whole lifetime of work. You have at least 20 years of work behind you. I've got 20 plus years of work behind myself, and everybody just wants to look at, this person's successful. That means if I work hard for 6 months, you know what? I'll give it a solid year. Then I should be just as successful as those guys.
Right.
And I'm like, hey, that's an illusion. That's just people showing you what they want to see.
That's right.
For the first 19 years of me running Universal Processing, nobody wanted my opinion. I didn't even want to come out and give an opinion because I was busy head down worrying about holy crap, this is COVID. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, how are we going to survive? I've got employees. They've got families. I've got a family.
Yeah.
What am I going to do?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And there's a lot of that.
Exactly that. And so, I mean, so like the business that we did, it wasn't about like just trying to build selfish wealth here. It is about building communities. And it's the reason why I am part of the US PAC and part of the whole CNPP program and stuff, and want to volunteer my time because look, without that type of knowledge that I gained, when I created some sort of success, right? When I started getting my 7 figures in there and everything else, I said this stuff was never taught to me, and I learned that I got to make sure that this is distributed over to the people that don't understand that don't know any of that, and that's, that's one of the reasons why I want to be on this podcast is because people need to understand that context.
Okay.
And they need to know that the help is there now.
Got it.
We built an infrastructure to create help. Now we want to make sure people are asking for that help, and we wanted to be able to deliver that help, right?
Yep. Yes, there is infrastructure. That's exactly what the Community Navigator Pilot Program is there to do.
That's right.
We're trying to introduce them to resources. We're trying to connect AAPI or any underserved business to the U.S. federal government and that big multi-billion-dollar war chest that was built from the CARES Act. The CARES Act. Absolutely.
Yep. That's the CARES Act. And and so people will ask us, so how are you going to help me, right? As an underserved business or wherever it is, right? I said, well, we got consultants doing it for free for you.
We do. Well, they're providing a service for free, but they're being
funded by
the Small Business Administration to go out there and give their business expertise, provide their business services. Although it's free of charge, it's costing the government money, but the government 100%. Is keeping tabs to make sure that these professionals are executing and carrying out this community empowerment
well said.
initiative.
Exactly that. Yep. And I wish that I was 19 years old or where it is at that time, having that type of infrastructure. Hey, that didn't exist.
There have been, ever since the pandemic, there have been so many grants that they start at maybe 10,000, they go up to 100,000. There's many of them that are 50,000 per grant that local businesses, are not local, but nationwide businesses. Uber, for example, did its thing. I think some of the main banks have done their thing as well. Grubhub had a neighborhood empowerment initiative as well. And this is in conjunction, kind of as a donation to supplement the government. And some of my business owners through the CNPP have enjoyed additional grants. But taking it back, in our teens and 20s, we could definitely have used an extra $10 or $50 or $100,000. That would have changed our entire lives.
That's and that's exactly that. And so, we want to make sure that the business owners that are afraid to speak up, to get them to speak up and ask for help because it's there now.
Absolutely, it's there. We have an email contact, right? It's podcast@uspac.com.
Yep.
And the listeners, the viewers out there, if they want to reach out or have some general questions, send it over. Comments. Hey, just let us know we're doing a good job. Let us know what you'd like to learn about, and we'll either answer your email directly or we'll direct you to the proper resources.
Or just go straight back to the website, uspac.com.
www.uspac.com.
Let me ask you something. You've been in that business for a long time now, and what are the trials and tribulations that's going on at the moment? I mean, what is it that these underserved businesses need help with?
Wow. The interviewee is now turning the tables. I was going to ask you that question. The trials and tribulations that businesses are going through right now, especially because I have a lot of exposure with the AAPI community, AAPI business owners. I'd say about 85% of the client base that Universal deals with is, our Asian business owners. Their main thing is hiring. And say, hey guys, right now it's really, as a small business, it's really about your people.
Yeah.
I literally myself just came back from an executive vision retreat in Atlanta, and our executive executive coach, coaches Fortune 500 executives as well as small business executives. And he told us a very simple thing. He said, if you're a publicly traded company, your focus needs to be on your consumers. If you're a small to medium-sized business, any business under 1,000 employees, your focus needs to be on your people. And right now, these business owners, nail salons, dry cleaners, grocery stores, restaurants, they need to focus on their people. They need to see what they can do to listen to their people's needs, be a little more flexible, right? I'm not saying that at a restaurant you can choose to work from home 40 hours a week. That's not very viable.
Yeah.
But a little bit of flex time. Got to pay a little more to be competitive, because I hear even the fast food chains are starting to escalate their wages. I know you mention your businesses, but what was the true beginning? What were the origins of your first business, and how did you get yourself off the ground? Even if you didn't succeed at that time, like what's the story behind that?
Well, my first thing was, I first started with my passion in music. So I started my music business, and I partnered up with a record producer, and I learned the ropes. And the idea of the partnership was to learn how to navigate through the industry. But that thing failed really quick because the music industry is extremely difficult.
Oh, I know from personal experience. Yeah.
Really difficult. And so I failed that. And then I picked my stuff back up, and I started my own new company called K-Vibe Productions. Okay. And K-Vibe Productions was pivoted into, they were like the MySpace. It was a competitive, like a MySpace type of scenario where I was taking artists, songwriters, and producers, put them together so they could make music together.
Okay.
And I would make a transaction fee for if they would sell music together.
Really? Like a social network for music
That's
artists.
what that was. That's exactly what that was.
K-Vibe.
I did about maybe 3,000 to 4,000 members, but the problem during that time, that was like 2005 or something like that. The problem was that merchant services didn't mature yet. And so I was getting a lot of frauds.
Okay.
And every fraud that happened, I was getting hit with $50 per fraud.
Okay.
And I was getting hundreds of frauds per day at a certain point.
Well, you were getting chargeback fees, and they were getting away with the money, it was being locked up in your account, and they were
getting away with the product, and I was getting hit with the fees.
Yep.
That was what. And so I had to shut it down because I couldn't afford it, and I didn't know anything about investors or onboarding, and I didn't know anything about that, and I didn't have the infrastructure for that type of. There's no AWS. At the time either.
Of course.
And so I pivoted. I went to depression mode for a little bit. And then I moved into New York, and I just created K-Vibe to be a blogging website where I just blogged about my experiences, and that's 2008. At the time, I was working a 9-to-5 job. So I worked at Ernst & Young, EY. I was making my $50,000 a year salary just to stay afloat with things, support myself in paying rent in New York, and continue to figure out how to pivot from that depressing failure I thought I had.
So you started out with entrepreneurship, then you took a corporate job.
I've always had a corporate job since out of college.
Oh, really?
I did.
Okay.
And all the money that I spent, that I saved, I put it right back to my music.
Back
into
your
investments.
Okay.
So my thing was that I never went out to clubs. I don't party. I'm like a straight up geek. Buy my equipment.
Really?
That's all I did.
Oh man.
That's all
in the music business. No clubbing and no partying.
None of that. And I just tried.
You're telling me I couldn't find you on the weekend at Sound Factory in Manhattan after work? That was the spot in the late 90s.
I'm an introvert.
Okay.
I'm an introvert. Okay. I like to stay in my box, and I like to make my music, and I like to work with artists, and I just stay in the box just working with them and making great music, and I let them be the soundboard. Okay. That's how I looked at it.
Wow, that's fascinating. I could have never figured that out. Okay.
And then, I heard about the recession, but I didn't understand what recession meant. I worked a 9-to-5 job, and being with EY, they protected their employees a lot of times, even though I heard about layoffs, but we didn't get laid off. And so I kept my job, and then in 2009, I got into the film industry because the new technology was the 5D Mark II. That was the camera, the DSLR camera stuff. And I said, "Whoa, this is the opportunity for me to make music videos."
Really?
Yeah, and then I sucked at it so bad. But then I said, you know what? Let me just learn how to do photography. Let me learn how to tell stories. And I made my first short film. learned my photography really well. And then long story short, my connections in the music industry led me into one of my friends that was the DJ for 103.5. DJ Valentino. He said that he was in the wedding industry. He asked me if I wanted to shoot weddings. And at the time I said no, because I'm trying to do this thing. You asked me to do, I'm not buying myself another job. You should have asked
somebody. Weddings are very, very lucrative. Very, very lucrative.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
But
you learn later, right?
I learned later. I said, oh, fine, I just do it. How much is it? $750 to do the edit, to the shoot, to do everything. That was my thing. And I thought that was a lot of money for me. Okay. You know, coming from a 9-to-5 job. And I said, oh, let me do it. And then I saw all the problems in the wedding industry. Mm-hmm. And I said, wow, this is a good opportunity to, if I was to get into this industry. And lo and behold, I got into it. Went from we created live picture studios. We did 12 weddings a year. The following year, we did 100 weddings. And then every single year, we went from 100, 200, 300, 400 a year. And that's how the wedding industry, and then the wedding industry is based on referrals a lot.
Yep.
And
word of mouth.
Word of mouth.
Yeah.
It was all word of mouth. They said, wow, you did my sister's wedding. You did my sister, you did my brother's wedding and my cousin's wedding. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh my God, I'm doing $20,000 deals like on a weekend. Mm-hmm. Like I'm booking 4 or 5 clients one after another.
You're literally, you and your personnel are probably at the weddings doing your thing and giving away business cards. Right. Hey, can I get a card? My cousin's going to get married in 6 months. Hey, you guys do a great job. You guys are very respectful. You guys are, clean cut.
Right. And then I found a marketplace to help us advertise a little bit more, which was the Knot at the time. And that brought in a lot of inquiries as well. And then the price point was always constantly changing. So we had to make sure that, I couldn't stay at 2,000 all the time. So I had to make sure that I'm building up packages. But here's the other thing. Finding workers to do the job was really tough too.
Okay.
So I had to balance it out between, okay, how do I build loyalty with the crew that, in the wedding world, it's a lot of 1099 workers.
Oh, I get it. Contractors. They're here today. They're gone tomorrow. They just want quick money. They just want a project.
Exactly.
Let me get paid. Let me pay my bills and then move on to my next.
So the question was, how do I fix that? And so the way I fixed it was, I want to provide you weekly jobs consistently. So and then here's the vision. The vision is that we're gonna build sustainable opportunities for you guys. And here's how I'm gonna prove it. I bought a van. I know those guys, you didn't drive a car. I bought a van so they could, and I bought all the equipment, and then I don't charge them rent, and I would just give it to them, let them use it so they could build a business up.
Really?
They weren't my employees either, but they were my contractors.
Okay.
And then I let them build their own wealth, build their own thing, but then still today, 9 years later, they're still working with me.
Wow, that's amazing.
Because what happened was that one of the contractors came from nothing. He started, for each job he saved up, and then he was able to buy his car, saved up, and then built a restaurant business in New York City for $1.5 million a year business now.
Wow.
And still today, he still works for us in the wedding industry.
Really?
He still does. And I have
That's dedication.
I have a feeling he does that because he felt like this was, he came from this area. He came from this, and he doesn't work aggressive like he used to do, but he still works with us, and he works really hard with us. But I think he owes it to that, he found an infrastructure that could help him build, just like I did. I found like the incubator.
Yeah.
I found some peers that gave me some little advice to make some changes, and those little changes really sparked Live Picture Studios. And from there, I know what we did was working, because I had this guy, his name was Eli. He moved to Germany, but he interned for me for a year without being paid, because he knew that I was working a 9-to-5 job. I would go back to the office, and then I would grind till 4:00 in the morning, and he would intern with me from do the morning shift.
Wow,
work at night, and he
that's
says,
dedication.
But he was getting paid. He was getting allowances from his mom.
Okay,
and he said, "Khoa, don't pay me. I just want to help you out." And I said, "Why?" It goes, just say that as a gift.
He believed in you.
He believed in me, and then when it was time for me to make money, give it back to him, he said, "Khoa, I'm moving to Germany." Okay. And I said, "Nope. I did my job. I helped you get you on your feet, and now go change the world." He said,
"Okay."
To me. And then he says, and he helped me with everything, with like films and everything else. And I remember one time, I will never forget. He goes, we were grinding so much doing the film work, the job. He goes, and I wasn't taking care of him because he was so grinding. I was looking out for the films, but I forgot to look out for him. He says, Khoa, you need to look out for me. He said,
Really?
what about me? Look out for me. I'm the one that's helping you out. I said, you're right. My bad. And then I just make sure I give it back to them.
I agree. If you had treated your colleagues, or I had treated my colleagues, either of us have treated our colleagues like your boss from Ernst & Young or my bosses from JP Morgan.
Oh, forget it.
None of them would have stayed.
Nobody
And we
would
wouldn't
stay.
have a business. We'd be done.
We'd be
right?
done.
We wouldn't be on this podcast talking
No.
about being successful entrepreneurs today.
Not even close.
But we did. We grinded with them. I was first in. You were first in. You were worried about them just as much as they were worried about themselves. And then we all came together and we struggled through it.
That's exactly right. That's
the only way. You got to sacrifice for each other and grind it out.
You know what? You don't hear enough about these type of stories. And, you hear the big companies doing the big layoffs, but it's all numbers game.
For them it is, yeah.
It's a numbers game. And then you don't hear you hear some family stories, but that's not really captured,
Yeah.
And so for me, the moral of it is that it's the reason why I grind and why I do my best to help, because it's the right thing to do, and it's extremely fulfilling too when you do help people out. And then at the end of the day, we got to think about the long term, and the long term requires people to run it long.
For sure. It's definitely about people. Like I said, about small businesses, even in my executive retreat, if you're running a small business, if you're running any business under 1,000 employees, it's about your people. It's about how you treat your people, how they treat you in return, how they reciprocate.
Yep.
And speaking of helping people, since we're running a little short on time, we want to always finish these podcasts with some advice. Khoa, what advice could you provide to a listener out there either trying to start their first business or trying to build their next business?
I always lead with, make sure you have a purpose to why you're starting the business in the first place. Like, I would say it's if you're just trying to do it just to make money, why do you need to make the money?
Okay.
Why?
Yeah.
Why do you need to make 7 figures? Why do you need to make this type of money? Ask those questions first. If you're trying to lead, there's nothing wrong with making money. But you need to have a reason why you want to make that much money. Are you trying to give it back to charity? Because you need to buy that new car. Why do you need to buy that new shiny car for yourself? Right? Just ask
So
those
what's the
questions.
purpose?
Yeah, you
of
need to
the
have
business. What's your motivation?
100%. You need to have that motivation because, then you could have then you could drive your strategies and drive all your ideas and build an infrastructure that surrounds that purpose. That's how I look at it, and that's how I did it for me. And if I didn't have a purpose to why I do what I do, I wouldn't be in the entertainment business. I wouldn't start these multi businesses, and I could care less about employees. You know what I'm saying? So my purpose was about people, and my purpose was about creating freedom, financial freedom, creating sustainability for employees and people outside the employee that wants to learn how to build businesses, and hopefully in the next 100 years from now, when my great grandkids are around, they have some sort of foundation that allows them to sustain themselves. And hopefully we had laid out 0.5% of the groundwork
Yep.
out there.
It's great. It's fascinating. It was great learning about you. I hope the
Thank
viewers
you.
liked it. And hopefully we can hear from our business owners nationwide, because we'd love to hear your stories. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Navigating Business, and Khoa, thank you once again
Thank
for
you. Thank
taking
you for
the
having
interview.
me. Thank you for having me.